Hey everyone, Dan here. Before we get into it, if you enjoy these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button. And keep in mind that these are my own thoughts, opinions, and ideas. These are not meant to be, nor should you take them as, investment or trading advice in any way, shape, or form. Do your own due diligence, put in the work for yourself, and make your decisions based on that. Enjoy. All right, folks, here we are on Monday, March 25th. We're going to take a look at DWAC today. So Digital World is about to switch over to DJT, if I'm understanding all of the logistics and timing correctly. And it was flying today on the news. So you'll see here, just, a bunch, here's the merger success right here. So I put some levels on the chart, and I thought we'd come and see if it does continue to push, some levels that it might hit some resistance at. If it does sort of flatten out and kind of consolidate in a range, what that range might look like. And then, of course, if it does drop, where it might find some support along the way. Now, I tried to put in a big range because obviously this one, at least for the time being, has a lot of opportunity to move really big intraday and potentially, during off hours. And so I wanted to cover a large range so that we didn't have to just continuously come back and try to check in on the stock. But I wanted to do that while not cluttering it up too much. And so what that means is I selected out what I felt were the strongest levels to the upside and to the downside. Just know that because the price action in this range is relatively thin, there will inevitably develop some additional price action that will uncover some strong levels as well. It's just right now I don't think that there are some clear strong levels besides the ones that I have picked out. But just know that when there's huge percentage ranges between levels like 33 to 42, right? There's a huge percentage range in there. There's going to be some additional levels. There's probably one here around say 37 or just under 37. But again, as to not try to clutter too much, I didn't put every single thing on here. So it ended the day at $49.95, so just shy of $50. The nearest level that I have is $49.56. Okay, that's a support level for the time being at least. We'll see how the after hours acts. It dipped below that for the time being. If it does push, there is a relatively near-in resistance level at $53.96, basically that approach to 54. If that continues to push more, 62.01. And I actually have another one, but you can't see it unless I zoom out, 72.53. Now, if it pulls back, be it now or in 3 months or what have you, and it loses that 49.56, 42.50 is the next really decent level down. It's pretty tough to pick out another one, at least on the daily. Maybe something here around 45.43, so 45 in the mid 45 range. But we'll see if that develops further. But like I said, 42.50, we spoke already about, the potential for an additional level down here. But if it does get real dippy after that, 33.63, 29.76, and then 25 on the dot. Now, on the think or swim side of things, this is potentially interesting. We'll see how it plays out. But you see back here, lengthy trigger on the TTM squeeze indicator as the price was just really wrenched down, compressed in that channel, pinned to the mid-range. That's the perfect setup for the TTM squeeze indicator. And then when it fired, you got that move. TTM squeeze indicator essentially called out a move from about 17 or so up to 58. So huge gains to be had there. So good call in the TTM squeeze indicator. As you see, it initially had some strength off of the channel, which often indicates that there can be some more bullish momentum that needs to be exhausted before it's going to come in to the channel. And it did exhaust that, but it wasn't able to come back and recreate, that $58 level. So came back in, tested the mid-range, kind of lost it a little bit, came down, tested the lower bound of the channel. While it was sort of mid-range, it once again triggered and fired, and nothing really came of it, right? That little move down, but to me, that's probably not enough to say that it was a valid trigger and fire. So what we see sometimes, and why this could be interesting, is sometimes we see a trigger and a fire fail in a stock that previously has shown that the trigger and fire can have strong results. You see also back here, it triggered and fired and nothing happened. And then on the retrigger and the refire, that's when you got the huge move. So curious if we're going to see maybe something like that play out again. Trigger and fire, nothing happens. Now it's, as of today, put in its second trigger candle. Now it's not, obviously at the moment, it's not at the mid-range of the channel, but both of these candles did move off or through the mid-range of the channel. So there was still price action mid-range as that was happening. Now, here's the thing to keep in mind. When the fire happens, if it is valid, meaning if the indicator does show correctly that there's a big move and that big move happens, if it's valid, we don't know which way it goes. So just because this one was a huge run up does not mean that if it retriggers and refires again and it's valid, that it will run it up. Just means that there's a potential for a big move to happen, and if that does happen, it can go either direction. So just keep that in mind. Right now, lower bound of the channel situated at 3108, upper bound right around where it finished off here, about $50-ish or so. I can't exactly see, it's covered on the chart because the price action is right there, but yeah, 50.51, somewhere around there. The channel's dynamic, so it does move as price action gets put in. So depending on when you watch this, those might be in slightly different places, but just know that that's the case for now. So we'll see if this retrigger and refire bears any fruit. And if you see back here, this retrigger was very lengthy, right? This is several candles. So we're only 2 deep right now. So it could, be a few weeks or a couple weeks of trigger candles before the fire even happens. Or it could be relatively short, like back here, this 3 and fire. But yeah, if folks are interested, we can come back and take a look if that does bear any fruit. Or it could, of course, end up as a null factor, trigger and fire, and nothing really happens. So we'll see how the market digests this big run-up that happened today, how folks feel that price is situated. Now, I'm not going to put this in, but I will just say there's potential for a downtrend resistance to be developing here, just because we see, get this on. Yeah, okay. So it wicked off of here today. So these are lining up really nicely. Now, is it going to break through there? Potentially. But if that does continue to develop and we get some pushes up, that would potentially be putting in a series of descending triangles as it hits these these support levels and the downtrend resistance. As those come to a head, descending triangle pattern, so you could get some explosive moves out of those as well. Those we typically look for them to push through to the downside, but it doesn't always have to be the case. If the support level is strong enough, it could break the pattern, right, and push through the downtrend resistance. So again, I'm not going to leave this on because we're only 1 candle confirmation in, and if this thing moves wildly tomorrow or in the next few days, then this could be really irrelevant really quickly. But I just wanted to mention it here sort of at the tail end in case it does, develop further and decides to play a factor. But I mean, you can just tell really easily by eyeballing it that those line up really nicely for the time being. All right, folks, I hope that your trading week is off to a good start. And as always, I appreciate you watching, and I will see you in the next video.